Hi, this is a Adulting and Documentary Supplement, and I'm going to talk about sin taxes today. Once I get there. So, as always, the discussion is meant to be good. It's not meant to get political. It's not meant to dehumanize or delegitimize other people or their beliefs. So, let's have a good conversation, but let's listen and let's be sure we're taking away the right things. So, sin taxes. Here's the deal. Like, imagine you are in government as a legislator and you're going to make a budget. And so, um, the fire department comes to you and they tell you what they need. And the police department comes to you and they tell you what they need. And then the road crew comes and they say, this is how much money we need. And you got to pay for parks and for libraries and for schools and for senior citizens programs. Um, you got to pay for all this stuff. And let's say you need to raise, $200 million or something. Well, you have a couple different ways you can do that. You can do property taxes. You can do sales tax. You can do vehicle tax. You can do income tax or, tax people's incomes. But you're going to have to get the votes for that, and people are going to have to vote for that. And those taxes are very hard to avoid. Obviously, I mean, even if you rent, you're still paying property tax. Everybody pays sales tax unless you don't buy anything, and everybody works. So pretty much, uh, or a really great alternative to that is if somebody comes to you and they say, "Hey, it's a tax. I'm gonna raise a lot of money, and everybody can avoid paying this tax if they choose to. It's completely optional for people to pay this tax." Well, it's very easy to vote for that as a legislator because you're not taxing everybody. When people say, "Well, you raised my taxes," they say, "No, I didn't raise your taxes. I just raised the taxes on these other people." You know, you don't have to pay the taxes if you don't want to. And so they're very easy to vote yes on because legislatures and governments can say, well, they're avoidable. If you don't want to pay the cigarette tax, don't smoke. We don't want you to smoke anyway. Um, so that's why sin taxes are kind of useful for governments. You can't think of it as we're putting the sin tax on there just to put it on there. That's not it. There is a need for the revenue somewhere. Governments don't typically get away with raising taxes unless they have a very good thing to spend it on. Um, so it's not if you're thinking like, oh, the government's just putting a tax on there just to put a tax on there, that's not true. Of course, with these sin taxes, with things like cigarettes and alcohol, they can either more hurt, they can be either like directly targeting the poor, because we know that poor people, for example, are more likely to smoke, or they can disproportionately affect the poor, which means that more of the poor's income will go towards the tax than say like a upper class or middle class person. So you want to be careful about that. And then the other side is something like cigarettes. The state is going to have to pay for Medicare expenditures for things like emphysema. They're going to have to pay for children's insurance programs for things like asthma. They're going to pay for people on disability because they can't work anymore. So the cigarettes cost tax. I'm sorry, they cost the government's money because the more people smoke, the more people are sick, the less revenue they take in taxes, income taxes, and the more they pay out in healthcare expenditures. So if you say, smoking only affects you, that's not true. If you go to the emergency room for emphysema and you don't have insurance, the state has to treat you like that. That emergency room has to treat you. So that's putting your medical bill on the taxpayers. And then if somebody smokes and their kid inhales the secondhand smoke and that kid goes to the doctor with asthma, that kid is going to get seen. That we take care of kids with health insurance typically. So again, that's taxpayers paying that. So that's why cigarette taxes are targeted like that, because in general, people smoking costs the state money, they cost the nation money. You can make an argument about alcohol tax. Okay, you've got to have police officers to monitor or provide security for drunk people. You got drunk people that cause more damage and more vandalism than sober people. Handle drunk driving incidents. So there's a cost to people drinking, and the list goes on. Do they work and the research in general shows that they do work, or there's a high correlation between higher taxes and lower usage for whatever. I mean, the straight bottom line is the more expensive something is, the fewer people are going to do it, or the less demand there is going to be. So as far as we know, taxing something works. Now, there's the other thing about the substitution effect. So, for example, the state of Kentucky might say, we want to reduce smoking in our state, so we're going to put a tax on cigarettes. Or maybe they need to raise revenue for some program, so they put a tax on cigarettes. And the people are going to quit smoking, and instead, maybe they take up vaping, or maybe they take up something else, marijuana or something, alcohol or something else. When you substitute that demand for the product for something else, that state will lose out on tax revenue. And it might be one vice for another. Like, somebody might stop smoking cigarettes and they might stop vaping. And, there's still an argument out there as to whether or not vaping is really healthier for everyone than smoking. There's people that, say both ways. There's definitely both sides. Some people say vaping is clearly healthier, and some people say vaping is, potentially as harmful as smoking. Let's see. Sin taxes are easy to pass and increase. A lot of states always, when they need revenue, it's tough to pass a income tax increase, but for some reason, taxing cigarettes or alcohol seems to be okay. This is more about what we talked about. Income and payroll taxes make up a growing share of the federal revenue. So as you can see, as time has progressed from 1935, income taxes has gone up and up and up. Notice the estate tax. The estate tax is when someone dies. If you die and have $1 million, then after so much, like after 200,000 goes to your estate, the rest is taxed at some rate. That's what the estate tax is. The excise tax is similar to tariffs, and so it's on imports into the country. And you'll see, as free trade has occurred, excise taxes have gone down. Payroll taxes are FICA. The green area is, income raised for Social Security and for, Social Security and Medicare. And then you'll see the other thing that happened is corporate income taxes has shrunk. And so we've seen a higher burden of funding the government on individuals, either through income taxes or payroll taxes, and less from imports, corporations, and from dead people. Here's how much does your state collect in excise taxes per capita? Oh, this is excise taxes. Excise taxes are sales of other special taxes imposed, such as tobacco, alcohol, beverages, motor fuels. So Kentucky raised $637. Looks like we raised a little bit more than all of our counterparts, except for Illinois and West Virginia. What you want to do is you want to look at your state compared to nearby states, because there's an argument that someone in like Louisville, if you're taxing alcohol or tobacco, somebody in Louisville might drive across the river into Indiana where there's a lower tax. But that means that the money that they spend goes to Indiana, and Indiana, they get pay some tax for Indiana, and it's a business in Indiana that profits off of Kentucky's tax. So you don't really want to compare Kentucky to New York, but you do want to compare Kentucky to like Ohio, West Virginia, Indiana, Illinois, even less so Illinois. Keep in mind the major metropolitan areas, that's your revenue base. You have Louisville, up on the river with Indiana. You have northern Kentucky with Cincinnati, and that's Ohio. And then right outside of eastern Kentucky is Huntington, and right in West Virginia, right across 64, there's a giant metro area. And so, people come back and forth to work for Ashland Oil in Kentucky, and all that over there. The next one is sin tax revenues in America. This is not per capita, so I think some of this is the more people in the state, the more the state has an opportunity to collect. But you'll see, Pennsylvania collects among the most, actually the most sin taxes, and that's on alcohol, tobacco products, casino, racino. That's racing casino, where they put casinos inside racing things. And then video gaming pari-mutuel. That's something Kentucky was looking at. It's where you can go to a casino and bet on other horse races, or past horse races, however they do it. Kentucky has tried for the last couple of years to implement a tax on it and legalize it. It's really just legalizing it so they can tax it. And the argument is that one argument is that it would raise money and it's an easy tax to collect and people want it and people are going to Indiana to do it. The other side of the argument is that you're helping people become addicted to gambling, and you're encouraging gambling behavior, which is has a cost. But the most of our sin taxes are tobacco products and alcohol. If you look at Nevada, you'll see that the majority of their sin taxes is from casinos, and that makes sense. All the tourists go to the casinos, so they'll tax the casinos. Texas has a very large alcohol tax revenue, so I think buying a beer in Texas might be a little bit more expensive than buying it, say, in Indiana. So just very interesting to see where the states get their money from. But that's my thought on sin taxes, and I hope that you're learning something new every day. And thank you.